Well, look at that. Live streaming our favorite flavor. Cary Harrison here with you, along with a couple of my dear friends. A friend who I finally reunited with after some years, yes. Rory Penland, who is also known as a man of 1,000 voices. 1,000! And that's saying only a few. There are still many more that he hasn't yet generated. He's like AI. If I say, quick, bus driver in Oklahoma during the rain, it would sound like.
Oh my God, I hate driving around here.
There it is. Thank you so much for joining us today. And no,
Thank you.
I'm glad you're here, Rory Penland, and also the great Renee. Now, Renee is the ex-lover of Vladimir Putin. I forget.
I can't believe, let's not put that out in the internet. Let's not put that out there. It may or may not be true, but we probably don't
there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it.
There may or may not have been golden showers in Russia involved. I'm not sure. There were a lot of quaaludes.
That actually teeters us into the topic here. That's so interesting. Hold on. I'm just going to move this over.
That was an awesome segue.
It was awesome. And what was even awesome is that Cary got raptured right in the middle of that. We'll probably edit this out. But right when he said, I'm just going to move this over here. And we were talking about Vladimir Putin. I don't know, but he was on, Cary was on RT for a while. So,
well, that happened to me during the break.
So. Well, it might be that Putin kind of snipped it right here and or the rapture.
So remind me not to do this ever with you again, because I cannot be trusted with my mouse, which is so sensitive.
Stop playing with your sensitive mouse.
Hey, stop playing with the mouse.
Stop playing with your sensitive mouse.
You can get an STD that way.
That's right.
STD. Okay, what a great topic.
Okay.
Not that you knew that or even intended after saying that I would try to develop that into a topic. But
you were segueing into it.
Well, I really was. So there is this little problem in Florida going on. There's a place called The Villages. And since we have people in Los Angeles and people everywhere in the world, including England, I'm told, all kinds of fun people watching right now, and the other really nice people that we met last week while doing this as a twisted, sick experiment that it is. There is in Central Florida a place called The Villages. Now, what a great name. What a great branding. What good marketing. Who doesn't want to live in a place called The Villages? Except The Villages is if you Google right now, as you're listening, The Villages, Florida, you will be horrified by what pops up. And popping up is the point. It is the STD capital of Earth.
How is that possible, though?
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like an old folks.
Hold
village,
that question.
Isn't it?
Hold that question, because that's a key question to be asked. But let me just take a minute and paint a backstory so we understand what is The Villages. It runs about, 70 plus in age, and it is where Ron DeSantis, who recently ran for president, that's his base. His base isn't some weird invisible bunch of Ku Klux Klans. Well, yes, it is. But these people there who are 80 plus are the highest concentration of white, bald, old Republicans per capita in the nation. In the nation, 16% of people over 80, white Republicans, live at The Villages. That's who he's talking to. So Viagra, the magical pill that came out just a number of years ago, changed the game. Here you were with men that were 85 that had withered phalluses. They would look down. They wouldn't even see a nubbin in the shower. Their bellies would hang over. They could pull their belly up, lean over, look over, and see what looked like a button.
They've got nothing on that nubbin.
It's nothing still there. The nubbin,
right? You take the Viagra, unless you're taking blood pressure meds. So we're not recommending this. You take yes, definitely not that. You take the blood pressure, the Viagra or Cialis, low dose, high dose in this situation. And suddenly the capillaries blossom. They open up, the like clogged sewers. and they suddenly allow a stream of what's known as blood to flow through the capillaries, which then fills up the corpus cavernosum, the corpus spongiosum in the phallus, allowing it to rise like an elephant's trunk into
and it helps against to prevent Alzheimer's.
I'm a kid again.
So
My heart.
yeah, so there's an added benefit. They can have a lot of sex and they can stave off Alzheimer's.
and remember who they had it with.
Right.
Because that's hard at my age. But let me tell you this, the upside, God, it's so hard not to have double meanings and triple meanings in absolutely everything you say. So here they are boinking each other. And there's just like 10,000 people that live in this place. And they're all scrumping each other. And think of these women that are widows. It's been maybe a decade, 2 decades since they did the humpy jumpy, the little scrumpage, little hokey pokey, because that's what it's all about. And suddenly there's Edgar out there pretending to trim her hedges. I'm just clipping off this leaf, and she can't wait. And the problem is, and then I'm going to get back to politics, and we're going to get into your question, Renee and Rory. So Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, who was running for president, used to be illegal 2 years ago to be governor and run for president. You had to give up your governorship to go run for a political office that has nothing to do with the state in which you live.
Mm-hmm.
And the poor sons of bitches that live in that state, 22 million unfortunate bastards. But the Florida legislature, which is an extension of your gubernatorial penis, well, they just rubber stamp it and say, hooray, poof. You can now be Vladimir Putin. You can stay governor of Florida. 22 million people enjoy the governor's mansion, be on other people's yachts, take bribery, cash in prizes, have sex, do whatever you need to do. And you can run against Donald Trump. You can have it all, baby. So with that, and one of the things that Ron DeSantis has done in Florida is made some very draconian laws, one of which is medical. Well, actually, there's many medical laws. So you've all heard of the Don't Say Gay bill, which actually has a real name, SB blah, blah, blah. That says that if you in any way check a box called other, doctors can literally not give you medicine. They can turn you away. Hospitals can turn you away, despite Obamacare, despite federal law. They could do whatever they want, religious purposes, because they're burning druids on a rock. I don't know what the religious thing is there, but why not? And so they realized that old people, and we're talking tens of thousands, get lots of STD checks. Did you know this?
I just didn't
Put it
know.
on Medicare because now they got free STD checks. Not anymore. Not in Florida. So the
I did not realize that was part of Obamacare.
Yes, that everyone got covered, even women, even old people, even people with 1 foot, all got medical care. There was no such thing as a pre-existing condition because it was understood that life was a pre-existing condition. There it is. I pre-exist. I now exist. So they got rid of all the BS of it all, and everyone was able to get medicine. Now with DeSantis, it doesn't matter if it's legal or not. A lawyer or a team of lawyers have to find people with standing, then it has to go to court and get challenged. By then, it could be 2 or 3 years and it becomes normalized. People get used to not being able to get tested for STDs. Let's go back to the villages. Here they are. Thousands, tens of thousands of people doing it all the time, and they're not able to get their STDs checked. It's so huge, so pernicious, so intense is the level of syphilis, untreatable gonorrhea, with Mildred sitting there looking down at her support hose and seeing bumps and hair and teeth and God knows what. And that, I know it's not
Amongst
hot,
the cobwebs and bats. Yeah.
Pornos of support hose.
Yes, support hose porno.
Mm-hmm.
There is a hub for that.
There is, absolutely. There's a lot of women out there with daddy problems. There's a lot of men out there with mommy problems. And let's just say that, when you click on something, you go for what you need, what your child needs, what your inner child needs. And so that's a platform. There's a porn star in Japan who is 77 years old. He's been doing it for 35 years. And he's a big star. And they said that that's one of the big things in Japan right now is elder porn because they have a rising, aging population.
Hey, let's watch the Golden Shower Girls.
But I thought, Carrie, that you were going to tell me it's because they got all this back in the free love 60s. And they just, like I didn't know if they were pre-existing STDs or if they're, but you're telling me that these are new STDs.
These are all new. So the insurance companies will now cover one STD check a year. One. So if you're sitting with syphilis for an entire year or gonorrhea, if you remember vaguely in history, Idi Amin, who was the dictator of Uganda, he was a tertiary syphilitic and a cannibal. And a cannibal. And the reason was because of his syphilis.
Right, because he ate. Now, here's the thing. He believed that oranges made him more virile. So he ate 1,000 oranges a day, apparently. He just kept and then it gave him gastro problems. Yes. And it gave him a lot of weight. Idi Amin had some issues.
Al Capone also fished in the swimming pool. He had the, mental problems because of syphilis.
Yeah. Yes, he did. And he famously opened up tourism. It was a very brief, maybe 2 weeks. And you would come down the gangplank of the airplane back in the JFK and, you would walk down. And then he would have you put your wallet, not he personally, but his soldiers would have you empty out your pockets, wallets, passports, leave them on the table and get back on the plane. And it really didn't work well for the tourists. They had to go home. No visiting. Then the BBC reporters, he actually had an eyeball room where he would take reporters, put them in there, gouge out their eyeballs, throw the eyeballs in another room, and they would sit with their sockets, imagining their plight. And this is all part of syphilis. We also know throughout history, great people like the best friend of Dr. Samuel Johnson. Dr. Samuel Johnson wrote the first English dictionary. No, there was no Merriam-Webster. All of that is way later here in the U.S., where we have 8 words or so, maybe 9, maybe 4 now in our dictionary. But the original Samuel Johnson wrote about 67,000 words, every single word cross-referencing the other. But he was like a Puritan. He would write 3-hour sermons on Sunday and then get the priest to get up, to the minister to get there and preach. Horrible, but a man of words. That said, who is his best friend? The rake, the poet Boswell, whose personal diaries were only made legal in the UK 10 years ago. And these are diaries that are hundreds of years old. And Boswell had 10 separate cases of syphilis. And there's drawings of his skull in a book of Georgian medicine, which shows holes where the spirochetes drilled their way through his skull and made him completely mad. But his diary is fabulous. He's up on the London Bridge, bent over, scrumping hookers, just banging them. And the seagulls are squawking and flying, and the water is splashing against the groins of the bridge. Very colorful diaries. The Queen forbade them to be read. But now that she's passed, you can actually get them. So syphilis can create great poetry, but it can also create great Republicans.
Well, Nietzsche also, towards the end of his life, suffered. I think he died from syphilis, maybe. And you can see in his philosophic discourses, he got increasingly mad. He got increasingly crazy. I mean, at one point, he was like railing against male men. He hated male men. He became addicted to his bath. So, yeah, it eats away your brain. And we don't want people to be living with syphilis. If you get syphilis, you need to go and get treatment immediately.
Here's the problem. So if you're in Florida, which is the 3rd largest state in the United States, population-wise, singly the most important when it comes to politics of those 3, California, Texas, the other one, is Florida. If you can't go get tested for syphilis because it's going to cost you a ton, why? Why would it cost you anything? Well, let's take a look at Europe. I will tell you, if you go through Europe and spend, let's say 3 months and just have sex,
you're definitely going to get an STD.
Yeah, no, 3 people a day, you probably won't get an STD. I know it sounds outrageous. Like what? Why? How could that be? Because they all have 100% free medical care, which means they're constantly going to the doctor whenever there's an issue and they get it treated. They're not sitting around decaying and rotting from the inside out, and they don't get presented with a bill for $900 for the blood test. And then there was the nurse practitioner. And then they gave you a pill. Then they had to use a syringe. You had to use a sterile needle. Well, that was an extra $4.95. Oh, yes, the doctor's appointment. Then you had to go to the ER, and then you had to come back. And then you got your blood work. Then it had to go to a specialist. Then they brought you back and gave you your second treatment. This is $900, $1,000. That's somebody's mortgage. That's your rent. So you're going to pay rent, or you're going to have a spirochetal experience. Spirochetes.
You're gonna be fishing out of your swimming pool.
Yes.
You're gonna
I'm
be Al
glad
Capone.
you see it the way I do.
Chlamydia. Oh, have you chlamydia? You got it from a tattooed lady. Thank you, folks.
So yeah, this is problematic, and you wouldn't.
We haven't even touched upon herpes yet.
Oh,
which
is
sticks
that
with
still
you
around?
forever, like college debt.
Is herpes still there?
It's around.
Well, David,
I'm embarrassed to admit that my uncle actually lived in the Villages. He escaped, unlike Patrick McGoohan in the TV show.
did he live there?
He lived there.
The prisoner.
Yes. I just found it ironic that he lived there with this woman. And again, I'm thinking Patrick McGoohan and, have a nice day or whatever it was that they said to each other, he's trying to get out of the village.
I just find it, and I'm not going to pounce too deeply on the politics because it's not everyone's favorite flavor, though it is my favorite sport. The fact is that the people like DeSantis and Donald Trump are murdering their own voters. And the reason that they need these voters is they're not replenishing themselves. Younger generations aren't like, I want to grow up and become part of a party that hates me because I'm black. Like, this is a great fit, or I'm Hispanic, or I'm gay, or I'm this, or I'm that. This is the party that would throw me in the ovens if they could. And they're certainly on the way. No, it's not replenishing itself.
I was certainly saying that during 2020. It was like, they kept denying that, COVID was, a problem. And again, 1 million plus people, showed them otherwise.
And then you're told.
And again, most of those were, from red states.
Yes. And then you're told to take a turkey baster and fire a half quart of Clorox up your bum. And that was the problem all along. My colon is craving Clorox. I didn't know. And then people do it and they die. And
that's how people in the Villages get the Clorox addiction.
Clorox addiction.
Woo. Go get the turkey baster.
I mean, it's just insane. So I think the irony is somewhat delicious that you have so few voters on your own team and you start killing them off. And then today in the news, we see Ron DeSantis with a black guy next to him. And this is important. He's not saying it. He's having a black man who is the center of a lawsuit that COVID is a hoax, as Donald Trump was telling us, as president of the United States, e pluribus unum, with thousands of multi-tipped thermonuclear warheads just 5 feet from his finger at any given second. He's got a black guy saying COVID was a hoax, and DeSantis is standing next to him like this. It is like really thinking of the most twisted kind of Joseph Goebbels setups. So it's never you.
Are you talking about the guy that actually went to one of the rallies and then died from COVID?
This is today.
Oh, okay.
No, that was Herman Cain who died from COVID at the
That's
rally.
Right. That's right. That's who I was thinking of. Sorry, I didn't catch today when you said today.
Oh, that's right. And there he was in his deathbed, clutching his flag, and then he expires.
And right after that, Trump gets it.
Yes.
and he's moving. He's driving around in limousines with security staff giving them COVID.
And it's suddenly real. It's suddenly real when he has it, and suddenly there's monoclonal antibodies. Suddenly there's all kinds of interesting treatments out there.
He's getting steroid treatments that no normal person can ever get.
Yeah. We had a little remark pop up there on Facebook from David Williams. Was it David Williams? David Myers. That's how they tried to cure autism, bleach enemas. So many children. Yeah. Why not? Yeah. I mean, if bleach will kill anything, except autism is not a bacteria to my knowledge.
Is there some way we can get that in the body? Maybe, an enema bag.
I mean, completely insane, right?
Cut to Fauci.
Poor bastard. But, then there's a professor at the University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana, or is that Champaign-Urbana? It's Champaign-Urbana. I kind of like
Champaign-Urbana, yes.
Champaign-Urbana. Okay.
Sounds like a Beatles song.
Do you like, Renee, is shampoo banana?
Yeah, I like that better. I would go to that university.
Yes, I would too.
Absolutely.
And he's great. Professor Francis Boyle. And he is the author of the 1978 anti-biological weapons treaty that the United States ratified in 1991 under Bush the First. All this to say it was an important treaty, and it meant that we couldn't make bioweapons here on campus, here in the U.S., on soil. So we started creating bioweapons all over the place. We have a ton of labs in Ukraine, by the way. We have lots of them in China, oddly. We have them here, there, and everywhere, including here in the U.S., but they're not official. So we do this. Thank you, Jonathan. And we love the fact that you're loving it, too. These weapons labs were manufactured or are manufactured, and the experiments are done at the university level, because you and I could never pay for this independently. Nobody could. They cost tens of millions, and you've got a staff of students that are willing to work on this. Fort Detrick, Maryland is one great example where there are giant weapons labs, bio-weapons labs, even though we are signatory to a treaty that forbids this under any circumstance. What they are holding labs for things like, medieval weird viruses that they found the DNA for. So they, work on it, store it in this place. So they took the original, what we now call coronavirus. It was a combination of coronavirus and HIV. A combination of both in 2015. And guess who funded it? The National Institutes of Health. And the way they get away with it, it's not an offensive bioweapon, it's a defensive. If we don't make it and figure it out, they will, and then they're going to use it on us. So we may as well just go ahead and make it and hold it in reserve. Then they gave it something called gain of function. And this is where you turbocharge a virus. We saw them do this back in the 1960s. The former girlfriend of Lee Harvey Oswald, a name we've grown to know and love, the alleged JFK assassin. We now found out there were 3 shots, not one magic bullet, ricocheting off of leather, going through a tree, bouncing back, hitting the moon, spinning upside down, becoming flat. Because it was flat, it then bounced back into the shape of a bullet. It regained its speed and appetite. Yeah, all of that. So we now know there were 3, and we know this from J. Edgar Hoover in a private phone call with LBJ, which, of course, many of us have now heard the recordings. You can look them up and find them. I did a show on that, so it's certainly in a podcast. Was this a rabbit hole that I can pull myself out of? I wonder if I can.
I love it. I'm loving every bit of it. Just keep going down the rabbit hole. Let's see if Jessica Rabbit's down there.
All right. I'm going to pull myself back out because it has to come back to somewhere where we're talking about what we're talking about. So the girlfriend of Lee Harvey Oswald, who was working at, I think, Tulane University at the time, this is about 1963, was paid by the U.S. government, the CIA most specifically, to fund a program to take cancer and give it gain of function. So cancer, it'll kill you over a period of time. They took these cells and they would irradiate them. And the courier who took these cancerous clusters to Oak Ridge, Tennessee, which is where we render for nuclear bombs. This is where the Fat Man, Little Boy, the Manhattan Project, the original 2 atomic bombs, was Oak Ridge, Tennessee. So he took those down to expose them. Lee Harvey Oswald, with the government, paid for, brought them back and delivered them to this woman named Judith Very Baker. And the idea was they were going to inject them into Fidel Castro. That was the idea, kill him off in 28 days with this. And so
28-day cancer.
28-day cancer. Yeah, not 29. 28. Guaranteed. She never finished it, but she got really close. And then, of course, the president
Put it on
gets
the tip of a
assassinated.
cigar.
I mean, what a
It
mess.
tastes so funny.
What a mess. So the problem, according to Professor Francis Boyle at the University of Illinois in Shampoo Banana, is that the molecules of these viruses, I mean, they're very, very tiny, which is why they are called BSL-4 or biosafety level 4. That's the worst. You probably saw that movie with Dustin Hoffman, and they're dressed like in NASA suits, hazmat suits. When they go into bioweapons, they have to put their hands through with the gloves at the end, or the yeah, that BSL-4.
Wonderful performance by Kevin Spacey, by the way.
Well, he knows a thing or two about putting on gloves, I can tell you that, especially rubber ones that fit tight. But that's another story for another time, and let's not gossip here or be known for that.
I can see that Rory's not up to date on the Kevin Spacey thing, but that's all right. It's a space odyssey. It's a space odyssey.
You want a true Kevin Spacey story?
We can move along. We can move along.
Well, hello, M.
He likes little Star Trek boys. I know that.
Well, I have a Kevin Spacey story you don't know.
Okay.
Well, maybe you don't want to know. Maybe you're like, no, don't want to know. I'm going to tell you.
We've already gone down that rabbit hole, so everybody's
did we talk
sitting
about
on the edge of their seat.
Okay, so this is about 15 years ago in West Hollywood. There is a famous city park called Runyon Canyon, and it's the largest city park in America, believe it or not, in the middle of Los Angeles. It doesn't look like a park like we think of, flat with benches, somebody with their poodle, somebody maybe passed out on the, no, it's like mountainous terrain and you hike on it, whatever, but it's a giant piece of property, and it has that famous,
like Jellystone Park.
Yes. It has that famous observatory at the top that you've seen in a million movies.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the place. And so Runyon Canyon is part of it. So Kevin Spacey would go in there, as people in Los Angeles do, to hike, and that's one of the places you get cardio. And he had gone in with a friend just to do his routine hike, as one does. And there they are hiking, and they find an area of bushes where there just aren't people around. And so the friend, I guess, decides just to sit down in the middle of the bushes where people can't see anything. And here's poor Kevin standing on a flat surface, but there was a pebble. A pebble was under his shoe. He lost his balance. A pebble. He's doing everything he can to maintain, and falls face forward into the lap of his poor friend, who happens to be sitting in the bushes, because we don't know why.
I mean, this happens to me all the time, Cary. I can't tell you, about 1/3 of the time that I go hiking, that's exactly what happens. It's totally, totally true.
Yeah. And do they push you into the bushes, or are you voluntarily already sitting there?
Well,
it depends on the day.
Got to be voluntary, get out of the sun.
Okay, Rory's getting there. Rory, you're getting an A+ here. So this guy has, on his own, through his own volition, voluntarily sat in the bushes, and he's wearing very light, thin hiking shorts, the kind maybe you don't need undies. So as Kevin on that pebble discovers a pebble, one tiny, like the Princess and the Pea, little pebble under his right shoe, completely loses balance, goes face forward into the lap of this poor guy. And
I can see it. I can visualize it right now.
Now, how do we know this happened? Because the National Enquirer had been following him around to do a big expose on his secret life that all of us found out about. I love all these comments in the margin. I think he landed on his friend's pebbles.
His friend's pebbles. Oh, different pebbles.
Dope Peter the cacti. Yes, you're right, Sandy.
Bam, bam.
Yes. So he falls in. The National Enquirer were there taking pictures. they captured and chronicled the whole thing. And then, of course, Kevin had the option to pay around $15 million to make the story go bye-bye, which he did. Apparently, he also had paid at the Coldstone Creamery, which is an ice cream shop in the Valley, some parents off whose kids had come, young kids had come, boys had come swimming at his pool. I don't know. We won't get into it, but there is a light. There is
Only
a story.
You can get blackmailed in the bushes.
Smokey
So
the Bear, man. Always listen to Smokey the Bear.
The take home on this is when you go hiking, please get proper hiking shoes. Get deep treads, maybe ankle high, lace them up tight, and wear lederhosen, nice thick lederhosen with suspenders, and then multiple pairs of underwear. And if you fall in the bushes, you won't have a movie star finding an errant pebble somewhere.
I mean, I can't tell you the amount of times that I've slipped on a pebble and it ended up on someone's crotch. It's just a recurring thing that tends to happen, especially if you're near Hollywood. It just happens.
Those damn pebbles.
Yeah.
So
those damn Hollywood
pebbles.
This explains
Fruity
something.
Pebbles?
You guys just nailed.
Oh, we nailed it, Cary. We nailed it.
But you nailed it more deeply than you even think.
Right.
So Bill Clinton, do you remember when he was governor of Arkansas, in history books anyway, before he was president?
Call him Slick Willie. Yeah.
That's it. And was it Jennifer Flowers? Jennifer Flowers. This is before Monica Lewinsky, before he had blown a great salvo of something or other on her blue dress, which is sitting in the Smithsonian, because what a national treasure that must be. But before that, that's right. He's governor of Arkansas, and he's sitting in some fancy hotel somewhere, and in comes this woman. Jennifer happens in high heels. Okay, we're going to follow that thread. Here comes this Jennifer Flowers. She walks in, and there's the governor, the guy who runs everything. And she walks over to him, and the same thing happens. A pebble on that soft, expensive 5-star hotel carpeting. She's wearing high heels. We're going to go with that. And there goes the balance, the high heels. I know those are hard to walk in, right?
And his mouth was open too, just like Rory demonstrated. This is a dramatization. We're actually doing an unsolved mysteries type dramatization live on air for everyone.
Now we
just
have
go
to,
with it, sweetheart.
That's so good, Rory. We don't even need to say a word when you just demonstrate it. It is just sentences, paragraphs right there. So here this woman falls into his lap, but how does an enthroatment happen when he's wearing a suit? I'm going to tell you how, because I have now reversed engineered this in my head during this discussion. She falls forward, arms flailing backwards like this, like swimming backwards. She falls forward and her chin hits his fly, and somehow hooks it. And as she's trying to pull herself back up, it pulls the fly, and then his pants blow open. The friction now of the pants tearing open. He's wearing boxers underneath. The mere air swirling around the boxers now that are fully exposed cause a frictive, an erotofrictive sensation. How's that for a new word invented right out of thin air? Erotofrictive sensation, causing him to his phallus to really automatically engorge and to mess. It's now to messing. And if you've ever worn boxers, so the men will understand this, the women will have seen boxers. There's
this
one
is going to
exit.
get an impeachment.
There's an exit area in the front of the boxers. And if a problem like that happens, it's going to try to find a way out. And it did.
Swing.
And it did. And there she was, still flailing in the air, high heels, rocking back and forth.
That's why I'm on the show, folks. I do the demonstrations.
I just want to say that we have now deconstructed it, much like the Zapruder film of the JFK. We've come full circle with JFK now and Lee Harvey Oswald, because we literally are. It's like the O.J. Simpson case. We're just going step by step onto how this happened. And you're right. Thank you, JD, for saying
Jackie, my throat hurts.
we cannot unsee Rory
How's
falling
my
forward with
hair?
his mouth open. We are all traumatized.
Sorry.
There will be lawsuits. I apologize.
I didn't get that line in earlier. I'm so glad we came back to it.
But so you see now, she ends up enthroating him because while she's struggling not to land bullseye on these unfortunate boxer shorts that have separated at that little area,
You call
revealing
them unfortunate.
the
but-
gubernatorial tusk, she doesn't want to get impaled. But balance is hard, especially when you're off balance. So it ends up going right to her epiglottis. And now she's choking on it, trying to push her way back. But her arms are weak because she doesn't go to the gym. So she collapses. And she pushes herself back. Arms are weak, collapses. And I mean, I understand now his argument, that 6 hour, I didn't have sex with her, and how that actually, he's right.
Well, that depends on your definition of sex.
That was his big line.
He's a victim, like Donald Trump is a victim. There he was inside of a department store. He walks into this little room, and there's this really good writer. I mean, she was very famous at the time and won a bunch of awards and was heralded as a really terrific writer. And somehow Donald Trump, there was a goddamn pebble inside of this department store. Somebody must have brought it in on their boot, or tried on a boot where it was
I hate them.
stuck in a tread, right? That pebble stuck in a tread. They took off the boot, knocked it on the floor, put the boot back in the box, left the pebble there. Donald Trump steps on the pebble. Here we
It
go.
rolls into the
It
rolls into
hands
the fitting
flailing
room.
in the air. Here's E. Jean Carroll. As he falls forward, his two fingers plunge straight into. I think politicians are all victims, and I think we need to give them a free pass for this. I know you and I can't get away with this behavior, not even one time. Not even one time. In the state of Florida, going back to Ron
I
DeSantis,
slipped on a pebble. No, I'm going
death
to jail.
penalty for assault, sexual battery, death penalty. So had Donald Trump slipped on a pebble in Florida and fallen with his two fingers to brace himself, and that was the only soft tissue that he could support himself against, he could end up in Old Sparky. But he was lucky. He did it in a different state.
Unless he's in the Villages. Then it's okay.
The White House has pebble gremlins. It's true. It's absolutely true. This is the first time I've ever heard the word enthroat, and now I've heard it 12 times. Well, I like to come up with words that we can use that we can get away with because they're clinical sounding. And that way, nobody can actually say what it really means. But Rory can demonstrate, and through
There's
the
no damn
visuals.
jazz in the background.
Yes.
Wow, chicka, wow, 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 chicka, wow, wow.
Jonathan says he wishes a woman would slip on a pebble near him. Slip, slide, fried. We've come
Yeah,
full
I
circle.
can actually hear him saying that in my head. Yeah, I wish a woman would slip on a pebble near me. He's Tasmanian.
So you're a throat doctor. Yeah, it's like you're an ENT in many ways. More T, I think, in this situation. So yeah, it's these are problems, and we must constantly give our politicians a free pass, because what they do, and they work so hard with their unlimited all-you-can-eat free health care that they get. Like anything, it's absolutely free. There's no such thing as an insurance company to say no. And they're lower than us. We hire them as our servants. We hire them to get the street lamps and fill the potholes. And so we give them the shittiest, medical care that's available, which is this first class, unlimited, all you can eat, wall to wall, whatever you need, hip replacement, brain transplant, unlimited, free, absolutely free, because there are bad employees. But we, the boss class, we pay because we want to pay. We want to pay $12,000, $15,000 a year to be denied by the insurance company because we're told that's an experimental procedure.
Well, you didn't slip on a pebble.
You just slip on a pebble. Or if you did, that was an experiment. Like,
You
don't have anyone in the office to slip on a pebble.
The old slip on the pebble ploy, you know. I'm
I wonder-
well aware of it.
Now, we should ask Renee, who has, let's just say, some legal understanding of things.
There you go.
Could you not cite a politician as the highest bar of human behavior in America? Well, they did this, therefore it's got to be okay for me. They're up there, I'm down here. Clearly, it's okay because they did it. Does that work in law?
No, it does not work in law. Absolutely not. But however, in civil, well, not in criminal court, but in civil law, you could make an argument that caused some kind of emotional distress if it was a child, or there are certain cases where that could happen, where someone could say, I thought it was okay and I acted this way and then I was distressed about it, but in criminal court, no, typically not.
Well,
Did you say syphilis again?
I also wanted to do a little quiz because a lot of people came in after we started. Does anyone remember, Cary said this at the beginning of the show, what the STD capital of the world is? What is the STD capital of the world? Let's see who was paying attention and who came in early.
STD capital of the world. STD capital of the world.
there's two of them. There's two of them. And they're in the same place, but one is this big, and then the other one is in a place that's shaped like that. I don't want to spoil it.
Which are
No, you don't
exactly
wanna
the
spoil
graphics you need to do when you're talking about STDs.
I
But-
would say that the state is
Number one.
apropos to the shape of the state
Yes.
is appropriate.
Yes.
For
Except
the
it's
topic.
flaccid. If
Yes,
you
The
okay.
discharge is the
upside
Florida
down,
Keys.
Gregory says Florida, so he's halfway there.
yes.
Sandy guessed Vegas, almost. You're close, but Florida is the state.
I would put my
Elderly,
on
okay.
Vegas. I
She's
would.
close, or he's close. M.
And it is elderly peeps. Okay, it's not New York.
There's a
David.
thousand little women waiting out there.
Jonathan says
Bangkok.
Bangkok. The
That's
name
my
would
money.
be
My money's on
appropriate.
Vegas, but
Yeah. Close. Sandy is close.
Two for
Gregory,
Miami.
close. Miami. They won't know if they came in late.
If they came in late, but they're getting very, very, very close.
They're
So
getting, and they're never going to quite
did
hit
you
the
say
sweet spot.
exactly
Orlando,
where?
close.
Very
Did you
Orlando
say-
is the closest one. Yeah.
Did you say exactly what part that place
No.
is?
I said it was in Central Florida.
Oh, okay.
And-
All right.
And if you Google it right now, you guys, it's called The Villages. That's it. Lovely name. Great name if you're going to build a subdivision. Good marketing name. The Villages. It sounds lovely and quaint.
Near
and you have-
Ocala.
Near Ocala. You have tens
The
of
beef
thousands of people driving around in golf carts. That's how they pronounce
Yes.
it. Golf carts.
Let me take you behind the Walmart. I actually had that experience with this woman that had my uncle there. She put me in a golf cart. Let me drive you behind Walmart. I'll show you around. My daughter can confirm that.
Yes. So, and these women who have not had, much touching probably in many years now get touched chronically. And so if you Google The Villages STDs, The Villages syphilis, The Villages gonorrhea, anything like that, you're going to see page after page after page. And it is the top spot on earth for STDs, and everyone is over 80.
If they
So-
ever do an R-rated Scooby-Doo movie, that's definitely going to be a locale.
Wouldn't that be? That's a great idea. We could do like
these old women are hitting on me.
that would anime. That would be great. Well, you guys, this has been total fun. I look forward to doing it. I think we're actually on the my home mothership of KPFK's Facebook. We're just doing some sort of alternative stuff that we can't do on the radio, but our listeners are cool and hip. So hopefully it happened there. We'll find out later. We're going to tweak it because we're so lucky we have the multi-trillion dendrites and synapses of Renee, who is her capacious brain. She loves that word.
Capacious brain. Just keep going. I'm soaking it all in.
Eat it up.
Her nickname is Octopussy.
That is my
We talked about this the other day.
We talked about this on the James Bond show.
She's got 8 arms. She can pull it all off.
You don't even know what all the 8 tendrils are doing beneath the console here.
She should be living in the villages.
We'll talk about Ian Fleming sometime.
She'll probably retire there.
We'll talk about Ian Fleming. Did he move to the villages? Because
he would have.
He would have. He didn't need to. He had enough. He had enough.
He lived in Goldeneye.
Well, all you have to do is say to yourself, let's see, it's your honeymoon. You just got married that day. It's your first night. And instead of boinking your wife, you sit down at an upright royal and start banging out a hot guy with a gun. You give birth to James Bond. Why? That's a whole different conversation.
That's a visual. Now I'm traumatized. Jonathan Duncan is thinking of Rory with his mouth open. I'm thinking
here she is. Like, I've been waiting like 2 years. I've been waiting. Here it is. I'm ready. Got my negligee.
Mm-hmm.
I put on a little perfume. I even took a bath. You did too. Good for us. Let's have at it. It's like, no, I'll be over at the typewriter.
You got pussy galore here. Hey, I like that.
Yeah, what a name. Nobody will get it. Well, you guys, thank you so much. I know we had a guy from England that was looking at whatever. It happens. It doesn't happen. But thank you, everyone, for watching and joining us and giving us your comments. I love doing this. And as long as everyone else does, we're going to keep doing it on Wednesdays at 7.
Wait, we're gonna move it at some point because on the 21st, Journeys comes back, so we might have to change the timing a little bit, or the day. That's okay. So maybe after the 20th, but next week we can do it again. Oh, and by the way, Jonathan said, Cary, you missed your calling as a stand-up comic. Absolutely hilarious, mate. He's in Tasmania. Sorry.
Tasmania.
Oh. Tasmania. So that's why he says mate. He's not trying to actually mate you. He's just.
That's I was wondering about down that. Under. Because if it had said ellipsis, mate, right. Ellipsis,
right,
then I would have taken that as a call to action. But alas, we are so many miles away.
Yes, so. And MM is reminding us next week is Valentine's Day, so we will deal with the scheduling tonight, and we will let you guys in the audience.
So we're going to talk about STDs again.
When that's going to be, yes. And we won't talk about STDs on Valentine's Day.
Oh, and Jonathan, by the way, I will talk a little bit about, because I've been to your country many times, probably 5 times. I will tell you about an experience in the Outback that is pretty exquisite. So we'll save that for another time and another show.
The deadly dangerous koala.
Well, I wasn't going to talk about the damn spider there, but there's this spider with a red belly. It looks like a giant jelly bean on a tiny little spider. One bite, dead. And the Aboriginals, which is what they call themselves, so not politically incorrect, they know the cure, but they're not going to give it to me because, let's just put it this way, the English through the Australians were as polite to the Aboriginals as Americans continue to be to the Native Americans and the African Americans. So pretty interesting stuff. Anyway, I love this. Rory, what a treat reuniting after all these years and seeing you do that really memorable bus driver from Oklahoma in the beginning, and also enthroating multiple times.
Is that a tornado? Well, where do these little people come from?
And Renee, your endless and boundaryless talents making this possible for us today.
Thank you. And I am arachnophobic, so I will be traumatized a third time during this show. Thank you very much.
I took a picture of the spider. I will find it and send it to you just so
Oh,
that you can
okay.
have a real arachnophobic experience and possibly a panic attack.
That'll
like a
be
really
good for my
one.
adrenaline levels.
Deadly-
It'll get my
Yes.
energy up. I think that's a really good thing. Thank
The
you.
deadly red jelly bean spider.
All right, you guys, this was great fun. We will look forward to seeing everyone again.
All
And
right.
Make sure you
Yeah.
go like something, like everything that we do, like it, share
Like
it,
everything.
subscribe to it, all of that good stuff. That would be good behavior.
Redback
All right.
spider.
He knows what you're
Daily.
talking about.
Yeah,
knows.
he just confirmed.
He confirmed. This is a
It's a
valid thing.
redback spider, mate.
Do you hang
Deadly.
up on people, Renee, or should I kill it from my side?
No. I'm going to hang up on everyone. I'm going to say go to www.goharrison.com, www.reimaginingheroes.com.
Rethinking
Check-
Heroes.
Rethinking Heroes. I always say
Yeah,
it
go to
wrong.
rethinkingheroes.com.
and don't think about Rory falling on your crotch with his mouth open.
Go to
slipped on a pebble.
rethinkingheroes.com and subscribe to the free newsletter, and that way you're going to get the over-the-air radio shows and videos that are much more PG to R rated. I think today we definitely popped into X a couple of times, and it was delicious.
Absolutely delicious. All right. Good night, everybody. And thank you very much for being here.